Page 4 in the prayer books. It was Nahim, Shevet Achim, Gam Yachad. Hine Matovu Manahim, Shevet Achim, Gam Yachad. Hine Matov, Shevet Achim, Gam Yachad. Hine Matov, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Umanahim, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov Umanahim, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad.
Welcome everybody to Jewish Gateways.
You're right, it's not.
Yeah, my mic isn't working. Hang on 1 second.
Keep talking if you like.
Welcome everybody. Welcome again and again and again.
Use mine.
Is this it? I don't know what this is.
Talking with the flat side. Just it'll pick you up. Go ahead. Just talk.
Welcome everybody to Jewish Gateway services for Erev Rosh Hashanah, for the eve of Rosh Hashanah. I'm Rabbi Bridget Wynn, and this is our new rabbi who just started with us a couple months ago, Rabbi Steph Kennedy, who is in charge of all of our family learning programs. So they're going to expand. That's very exciting. And this is Joel, who anybody who's been here before knows, Joel Siegel, our musician. And it's 3 years since we've been here, so it's really exciting to be back. And we also have a video camera going for those who are more comfortable watching at home. So I want to ask all of you in just a moment to introduce yourselves, but first, I want to get a few different ways that we can greet each other. So I want to find out anybody here who knows any way to say Happy New Year. Could be Hebrew, could be Yiddish. Those are kind of the traditional, but I think we've got some Hungarian over there. And I bet there's some Spanish. And can you yell it out?
Indonesian.
Oh, Indonesian. Why did I think that you also knew Bulgarian? Hungarian, yes. Which would you like, the Indonesian or Hungarian? Let's hear both.
Okay. Indonesian. Selamat Tahun Baru.
Wow, I'm not going to try it. Yes. Hungarian? Wow. Thank you. Are you also a Hungarian speaker? Wow. Hey. What else do we have here? Anybody? Feliz Año Nuevo. That one I can do. Spanish. Let's see. I'll do Hebrew. Shana Tova. Let's hear it. Shana Tova. Great. You can do that. Who knows the Yiddish? Anybody? Let's hear it. Good Yantif. Great. Yes. Wow. Thank you. You can tell I only know the ones that people learn around here in school, plus the Yiddish. Feliz Año Novo. Is that Brazilian? Portuguese, yes. I knew it sounded like Spanish, but it wasn't. Thank you. Great. Anybody else? Chinese. Oh my gosh. This is really cool. Yes, Miriam. Oh, thank you. Yeah. This is the year that goes around? Wow. Wow. So now what I'd like you to do is find somebody reasonably close to you who you don't know and say Happy New Year in whatever you want, including English. Let's regather, folks. Let's regather.
Try more later. It's intermittent.
Hine matovu manai. Wow, that got your attention. Which means how good it is to be here together, which it is. Shevet achim gam yachad.
This group sings. I remember that. And it's hard to make them sing.
So if you were having a good time, remember that after services, we're going to have apples and honey and all that sort of thing. And there's lights on and heaters, and you can hang out and chat some more. So you don't have to end your conversation for the evening if you don't want to. Before we move on, I want to give you a few guidelines from the JCC. One is that the restrooms are located up the stairs over there in the JCC building. They're to your right. Another is that the nearest exits are back there where you entered, and also this door right over here. If anyone has accessibility needs, please speak to a JCC staff member, and if you would like help from one of us finding a JCC staff member, we're glad to do that, one of us volunteers. The JCC requires masks at all time inside and outside. I know that may seem surprising, but that is their rule, except when eating or drinking or leading services, or those under 2, or those who cannot wear them for medical reasons. So I know for some of you it's a pain to wear them outdoors, but we have to do that as part of our the rules for us to be here. Finally, please keep your wristband on. That's how the JCC tells that someone has checked with you to make sure you're vaccinated. And if you're coming back tomorrow, might as well just wear it rather than getting a new one. And if you're coming back at Yom Kippur, just bring your wristband as well. So that is how we gather in the days of semi-COVID. And I look forward to it when we're in the days of no COVID.
Amen.
So now we are going to get to do some more singing, which sounded so great. There's a special melody used at High Holidays, and Joel is going to teach it to us, or if you already know it, to remind us of it. And you're just going to la-la or whatever you like to get yourself into the High Holiday mode with that melody.
And at this point, I usually like to quote a teacher of mine, Rabbi Rona Shapiro, who was at Berkeley Hillel for quite a few years here, and who used to say, if you don't know the words, sing la 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 la. If you don't know the tune, sing louder. And a friend of mine, another teacher, a folk singer, Fred Small, who says, go ahead, everybody, sing in harmony, and just remember that harmony is anything your neighbor is not singing. This is the tune, harmonize as you like, that we sing throughout the days of awe. Lie, la, lie, 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 la, lie, 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 la, 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 lie, lie, la, 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 lie, lie, la, 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 lie, lie. Sounds like maybe one or two people remember. And it's very versatile. You can sing la 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 la. You can make it as long or as short as you like. So there'll be bits and pieces of melody in or out, depending on the text we're singing and how many syllables it has.
We're going to light our candles now, and that's on page 4. And I'm going to call it the Fishel Kirkpatrick family, or Fish Patricks, we can say if we want to be silly, to come up and lead the kavanah or intention and to light the candles. Lori, are you available to join? Or are you busy doing your volunteer work? Oh, she's waving. Okay, why don't you just get yourselves organized here with a prayer book, and then hopefully Lori will come on up. You can just stand right back there. And here are the candles. And as soon as Lori gets here, you all can read that. You're going to read that paragraph, and there's a mic right there. Lori is our volunteer coordinator extraordinaire. That's why she's not in here, but I hope she can be soon, for her sake. Yes. Okay. So if you want to just read that paragraph.
I answer.
Make sure the switch is on, because there should be a switch.
Oh, maybe this one isn't working yet. This one isn't working.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me.
Well, we'll just say it really loud. Okay. I enter these holidays, these days of awe, asking myself, where am I in my life? As I approach this time of self-examination and questioning, I pray for the strength to face myself and the faith to believe that it is within my power to change and grow.
Wonderful. And then if you want to just light those two candles there. And once the candles are lit, Joel is going to lead us in first a blessing over candles for the holiday, and then a blessing called the Shechianu, which is the We Made It Here blessing, which has extra resonance this year.
Right? It'll be our first chance to practice that tune.
All right. And y'all can just stay there till we're done.
And since it's not Shabbat, we're going to sing Lahadlik Ner Shel Yom Tov when we get there. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotanav ve'etzivanu lehadlik ner shel Yom Tov. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehecheyanu v'kiyemanu v'higianu lazaman hazeh.
And now we are going to move into the specific themes of the high holidays: returning, turning to become our best selves as best we can at this time of year, returning to our values, to the sacred, to our friends and family. And we are going to join together in two songs about that. They are both on page 7. Return Again, and Hashivenu.
Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Hashivenu, Hashivenu Adonai Elecha Venashuva Chadesh Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem Chadesh Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem.
And continuing at the bottom of page 7. Now is the time for turning. To everything there is a season, an appointed time for every purpose under heaven. Now is the time for turning. The leaves are beginning to turn from green to red and orange. The birds are beginning to turn and are flying once more towards the south. The animals are beginning to turn to storing their food for the winter. For leaves, birds, and animals, turning comes instinctively. But for us, turning does not come so easily. It takes an act of will for us to make a turn. It means breaking with old habits. It means admitting that we have been wrong, and this is rarely easy. It means losing face. It means starting all over again, and this is always painful. It means saying, I am sorry. It means recognizing that we have the ability to change And this can be embarrassing. These things are terribly hard to do. But unless we turn, we will be trapped forever in yesterday's ways. Therefore, may we find the strength to turn from callousness to sensitivity, from hostility to love, from pettiness to purpose, from envy to contentment, from carelessness to discipline, from fear to trust. May we turn ourselves around and toward all that is noble, true, and life-affirming, to revive our lives as at the beginning. Then may we turn toward one another, for in isolation there is no life. We continue now on page 11, where in just a moment we will chant the Baruch Hu, a prayer in which the three of us will call out to you, saying time to bless, and you will respond back, saying that you are ready to bless. And this is our call to prayer. And we're going to begin with an intention, the Kavanah, which means intention, number 2 there, which Joel's going to lead us in. And I want to ask everybody to rise.
As we bless the source of life, so we are blessed. As we bless the source of life, so we are blessed. And the blessings give us strength and make our visions clear. And the blessings give us peace and the courage to dare. As we bless the source of life, so we are blessed. As we bless the source of life, so we are blessed. And the blessings give us strength and makes our vision clear. And the blessings give us peace and the courage to dare. As we bless the source of life, so we are blessed. As we bless the source of life, so we are blessed. Nai, 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 nai. Nai, 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 nai. Nai, nai, na, 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 nai. Nai, 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 nai. Yai, nai, 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 nai. Nai, 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 nai. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Vaed.
Please be seated.
We can try the cord and mic one more time. I made a couple adjustments that might have fixed things. Yeah. So far. Fingers crossed.
Is this working? Oh my gosh. Great miracle happened here. So let's continue on page 12 with a prayer about the time of day. If it was morning, we would have a morning prayer. It's evening, so we have an evening prayer. As the sun sinks and the colors of the day turn, we offer a blessing for twilight. For twilight is neither day nor night, but in between. We are all twilight people. We can never be fully labeled or defined. We are many identities and loves, many genders and none. We are at the intersection of histories between place and place. We are crisscross paths of memory and destination, streaks of light swirled together. We are neither day nor night. We are both, neither, and all. May the sacred in-between of this evening suspend our certainties, soften our judgments, and widen our vision. May this in-between light illuminate our way to the God who transcends all categories and definitions. May we be lifted up into this twilight we cannot always define. We can always say a blessing. And I'm going to just very briefly comment here. Rabbi Zellman says in this prayer about God, that God transcends all categories and definitions. And I know for some people the word God can be an entrance. For some people it can be a barrier. So if it's a barrier for you, if it makes you think of a guy in the sky who seems unreal or anything else that does not help you to step into prayer or connection or however you want to define it, please think of something that does help. There's so many names for God in Judaism. Source of life, friend, beloved, endless one, so many. So please don't allow that to be a barrier for you if it is. We move now to page 13. Open up our eyes, and then the Shema and the line after it, which also are about some of the mystery of the divine.
Open up our eyes, teach us how to live, fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one. Open up our eyes, teach us how to live, fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one. And we will know that you are one. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto.
The prayer, the Vahafta, a continuation on from the Shema, asks us to love. In the ancient language of this prayer, whose words are lifted directly from the Torah, we encounter a surprisingly contemporary conception of love. Love that is not a feeling, but a thing we do, an action. The V'ahavta instructs us in various ways to love, to seek harmony between our best selves and our actions, to aspire towards a world where we can enact love as we wake up and as we go to work, where we can enact love as we write emails and make dinner and go to sleep. It is a life lived this way and a world loved this way that we desire as we recite the V'ahavta. Please join me in the English. You shall love the Creator, dedicating your heart, soul, and energy. Let these teachings connect you today to your heart. Bring them to your life in your interactions with your children. Exemplify them in all you do as you rest, travel, dream, and wake. Create sacred rituals to remind you daily to act in ways that are true to your deepest self. Place reminders on the entrances of your homes that you may help them fill with God's presence.
We'll move now to something else from the Torah, like the Shema and the V'ahavta are, and that is in the middle of page 15. It says, Mi chamocha, who is like you. This is the song that the Israelites sang after they had come out of slavery in Egypt, gone through the sea, and were out in the desert, and were amazed that this has happened. And I think this song can be understood lots of ways, so let me just offer a couple. One is it's a reminder of freedom for a group who's been oppressed. They've worked so hard to get out, and Moses, their leader, worked so hard to get out, and here they are. Another way to understand it is more personally. The word for Egypt in Hebrew, Mitzrayim, also means narrow places. And we all go through narrow places that we want to get through and move into something wider, more freeing, with more possibilities. So however you understand it, let's join together in Mi Chamocha.
I'm going to start over. Do we do yabba bim bum? Yeah, we do. Yabam bam bim bidi bye, yabba bye bim bum. Yabba bye bim bidi bye, yabba bye bim bum. Ay 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 ay, yabba bye bim bum. Ay 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 ay, yabba bye bim bum. Mi chamocha, ba'alim Adonai. Mi chamocha. נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות, אוסף אלה, אדוני ימלוך לעולם בעת. ימביי מים בידי ביי, יבביי ביי בים בם, ימביי ביי בים בידי ביי, ירדיי ביי בים בם, איי 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 איי, יבביי ביי בים בם, איי 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 איי, יבביי ביי בים בם.
Until I went to rabbinic school, I had no idea why one prayer came after another. There was a prayer, there was another one, and someone would say page 5, page 7, whatever. So I just want to let you in on a couple of secrets I learned in rabbinic school that are not really secrets. They're just things that you kind of have to keep going along in Jewish learning to have an opportunity to know. And that is that the service is leading us on a journey. We started out with some warm-ups about returning again to say, this is why we're here tonight. This is what this holiday is about. Then we moved into our call to prayer that said, are we ready to bless? Yes, we are ready. Then we acknowledged the time we're here together, meaning nighttime. Because Judaism is a religion that goes not by the clock, but by the seasons and by the changing day and night. That's why Rosh Hashanah can be early or Rosh Hashanah can be late, because it's really on the same day every year, but the secular calendar is not following the lunar calendar that Judaism is following. So we stopped to acknowledge that it's twilight. Then we moved into the Shema, reminding us of the oneness among everything, and then, as Rabbi Steph said, the way that that hopefully calls to us to act with love in the world. And now We remembered the importance of freedom, liberation, redemption by singing the Mi Chamocha. And now it's time to get to our evening prayer, because after this, we're going to go home, and hopefully at some point we will rest. And rest is so, so important. So we've been on a little journey over some very core Jewish values about creation, about liberation, about oneness, about love. And now we'll move to a more personal kind of prayer saying, I hope I can have meaningful rest tonight and rise up tomorrow renewed. So at the bottom of page 15, we're going to sing together, Ufros Salenu Sukkot Shlomecha. A sukkah is a temporary shelter. We are in a temporary shelter. Spread over us your peace-filled shelter. So let's imagine this peace-filled shelter full of all of us who I'm sure want peace very much, want rest and renewal. And then let's take that feeling home with us.
Take a breath maybe or two with that and just let a little peace come in. And I'm just going to stand here and drink in for a moment, being together with all of you once again, because it's a little hectic at the beginning. I didn't get a chance to do that. And wow, just wow. We're almost filling the place. We're going all the way back. So nice to be together again. Ufros aleinu sukkot shelomecha ufros aleinu sukkot shlomecha yalai lalai yalai lalai yalai lalai lalai yalai lalai yalai lalai yalai lalai lalai ufros aleinu sukkot
I'll take that home with me.
Amen.
After these prayers that remind us of some core values, praying together as a community, we now move to a time for personal prayer. And the hope is that praying together as a community gives us preparation to offer our own prayers. And I'll say a couple words about prayer. So many English words are such barriers. Prayer sounds like it means give me, like pray thee, bring me my horse, oh attendant. But prayer is not necessarily about asking for things. The largest proportion of prayers in Judaism are appreciation prayers, gratitude. We're appreciating the food we have. We're appreciating the night coming on. We're all kinds of things that we can appreciate. So whatever prayer means to you, my suggestion is to try to detach it from any stereotypes. By that I mean we don't have to ask for things. We can pray to be the kind of people we want to be. We don't have to pray to somebody. We can or we cannot, depending what works for you. And we can pray if we want to pray to. It doesn't have to be any kind of anthropomorphic God. We can be speaking our truth to all of creation. There are so many ways to do this. So I encourage you to see if you can experiment a little, if you're not already a person who's comfortable with prayer. And if you have a chance, I have a couple pages at the beginning of this prayer book now, which I'm not asking you to read unless you want to. You're welcome to if you do, that talk about some different ways to look at prayer. So I hope to open things up, because often the ways that things are presented, if we just see the words, prayer, God, can seem very, very unwelcoming or stereotypical or rigid. So our time for personal prayer begins on page 17. There are some intentions or kavanot on page 17 and 18 to read whatever you would like to there. And then there's a particular prayer, especially for Erev Rosh Hashanah, on page 19. You'll see at the top of page 19 it says Amidah, which means standing. And the idea is, if you're comfortable doing so, to stand for this prayer. It's kind of like creating your own little prayer space. And if you want to move off to the side, that's fine too. And take your time. Whenever you're done, just be seated. So I ask everyone who's comfortable doing so to rise for the Amidah.
Please feel free to remain standing if you want. This is not at all an instruction to sit down. Take your time. Say what you need to say. Sounds like a song. Feel what you need to feel. And I don't know if you read this first little kavanah, before the Amidah, but it struck me as I read it. Ralph Waldo Emerson once asked what we would do if the stars only came out once every 1,000 years. No one would sleep that night, of course. The world would become religious overnight. We would be ecstatic, delirious, made rapturous by the glory of God. Instead, the stars come out every night, and we watch television. Take a look at the stars sometime soon. Oh, say shalom, mimrama. Oh, ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'imru, imru amen. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom.
Page 24.
Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Thank you, Rabbi. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
And on the top of page 25, don't stop after beating the swords into plowshares. Don't stop. Go on beating them and make musical instruments out of them. Whoever wants to make war again will have to turn them into plowshares first. A very brilliant Israeli poet, mostly in the 20th century, Yehuda Amichai. What an idea. As Joel said, it is amazing to be here. It's 3 years since we last gathered here. And it's amazing and moving and kind of replenishing to see all of you folks, many of whom I last saw 3 years ago, many of whom I've seen on Zoom since then in all kinds of different ways. But seeing people in person is really different. And what a difficult time these 3 years have been. Floods, fires, hurricanes, wreaking the greatest destruction and suffering on the most vulnerable. Dystopian laws forbidding abortion. Voter suppression. Candidates committed to subverting the will of the majority. Police are still murdering black people. Anti-Semitism is rising. And so much more. The science-denying, profit-driven, power-craving madness that has taken hold of our culture. The rise of ethno-nationalism in our country and others literally endangers our lives, our planet, our future. Given all this, I would like to lift our spirits this evening, to greet you, to ask you how you really are. I'd like to share words that will help you sleep better. Maybe mend a small bit of a broken heart. Maybe make you laugh. Certainly give you permission to grieve. And I want to encourage us to do this with one another, for we are here to seek what we can find only in community. But first, I want to fortify you to help us develop the strength we need now and in the days ahead. In Martin Luther King's 1967 sermon about the Vietnam War, he spoke about the fierce urgency of now. An image from that sermon seems especially relevant this evening. Over the bleached bones and jumbled residue of numerous civilizations, he said, are written the pathetic words, "Too late." I do not believe that it is too late, but I also know that what we do now matters. We are faced with an urgent question. Who are we called to be when we hover so dangerously close to the edge of the abyss? Jewish tradition argues strongly against despair. Instead, it calls on us to recognize the power we do have. In times of crisis, we do not hide. We don't stand on the sidelines and fetch. We don't turn to religion as a crutch that helps blunt our conscience rather than awaken it. We do not yield to the false belief that outcomes are predetermined. We act. With all our strength, with all our resources, even when we're not sure it will make a difference. How do we do this? Let's look to our tradition's core story of fighting injustice and cruelty. The Passover story, like all stories of important change, begins earlier than we might think. Before Moses even has a name, several lesser-known women stand up against Pharaoh's brutal regime. Their only weapons are their courage and their refusal to let a powerful dictator redefine what is good. Pharaoh believed that the enslaved Israelites, a minority, a group of people who are different, threaten his power. He orders all midwives to murder every Israelite newborn boy. But two of those midwives, named Shiphrah and Puah, carry out dangerous acts of civil disobedience. They defy his orders and let the Israelite baby boys live. Thwarted by these brave midwives, Pharaoh charges all Egyptian people, saying, "Every Israelite boy that is born you shall throw into the Nile." He calls his entire nation to rise up in an abhorrent act of violence, infanticide. In this climate of terror and bloodshed, Moses' mother, Yocheved, makes the desperate choice to place her baby in the reeds at the edge of the Nile. His sister Miriam stays there to watch over him. Pharaoh's daughter happens upon a basket while bathing and finds the baby inside. She must have known he was a refugee from her father's harsh decree. She could have said, "Why should I save an Israelite?" Or, "What difference would it make to save one baby boy when there are hundreds in danger?" But she used her privilege to save one life. She did what she could. And the boy grew up to lead the Israelites to freedom. Before Pharaoh's daughter, whose name was Batya, brings the baby to the palace, Miriam takes a chance and asks, "Shall I go and get a Hebrew nurse for the child?" Batya agrees, and Yocheved was able to care for her own son as he grew. In the days ahead, remember these women who are often forgotten. Each acted as she could, with the resources she had, despite great risk, not knowing where it would lead. Our Torah is imploring us to remember. There would be no Moses. There would be no freedom from slavery in Egypt without each person who acts against injustice where we can, despite our fears, despite the unknown future. When you live under a system that is callous to human suffering, you do whatever is in your power to thwart decrees, to save lives. Just as Shifra, Pua, Yocheved, Miriam, and Batya's combined actions help change the course of history, so can ours. I return now to my desire I spoke about earlier, to lift our spirits, to help us offer and receive understanding and compassion for any pain or sorrow, fear and brokenness we bring with us this evening. It may be pain about the crises our nation, our world are facing, fear that we will not know how to pull back from the abyss. It may be the sorrow and brokenness of loss of those we love, of health, of abilities, of relationships, of dreams we had hoped to fulfill. Let's move forward now in our people's story, thousands of years after Shifra and Pua, Moses and Miriam, yet still 2,000 years before today, to the time when Judaism was a pilgrimage religion, like Islam still is, when Jews did their best to travel to the temple in Jerusalem on important holidays. There's a teaching from that time that speaks of love, human suffering, and the power of community. Thousands of people would stream into the temple courtyard, circling to the right, around the perimeter. But someone suffering, the brokenhearted, the lonely, the grieving, the sick, the hopeless, someone to whom something awful had happened, that person would enter through the same doorway, but circle in the opposite direction. Imagine when we're suffering, when every instinct we have is to isolate, because who would understand anyway? We are called to show up, to be with our community, to let others know that we are in pain, so they can offer consolation. Now imagine this. You're on pilgrimage. You saved and planned for this moment. Then here is this broken person walking towards you. As much as you want to, you are not allowed to avert your eyes. Every person you pass as they walk in the opposite direction, you must stop and ask, what happened to you? Where is your pain? Tell me of your heartache. And this person in their suffering would answer, I am afraid, or I am bereft, or I am shattered. Words of comfort are offered, compassion, presence, love. You are not alone. We are not alone. In this time of so much suffering and such hard edges, we need to fight for justice. We also need to share our compassion, which means both offering and accepting. May we learn this year, when we see brokenness in our country, in our world, not to turn away or become despondent, but instead to ask ourselves this question: where in my life can I take action, like the little-known women who made the Exodus story possible? And we also learn to see the broken hearts, the people around us to whom something awful has happened. And rather than averting our eyes, to ask, how are you, really? And then to listen, really. Bringing greater justice and compassion into our world. That is what each of us is called to do, what each of us has the power to do in the fierce urgency of now. We come now to the Avinu Malkeinu, and I'm going to ask Catherine and Sandy. Let's see, Catherine and Sandy Warren. Great. To come on up and open the ark. And when they do, I'm going to ask you all to rise. And then we will move to page 29 for the Avinu Malkeinu. We get to use our beautiful ark again, which a member of our community made for us as a surprise. We had a sort of rickety-looking ark, and he sent me an email one day and said, I made a new ark. Would you like it? I'm just looking over there. Hey, Dan. We love it.
Shkoyach.
Yeshkoach means great job. So now we get to appreciate it since we're here in person. At the bottom of page 29, I'm going to read to you the first paragraph and then ask you to join in the second paragraph. Our Father, our King, teach us how to make this year a new beginning. Our Mother, our Queen, teach us how to grow from the harshness of life. Our source and our destiny, teach us to accept what we are powerless to change. Our guide and our truth teach us to change what must be changed. Our Father, our King, teach us how to face death.
Our Mother and our Queen teach us how to enjoy the gifts of life. Our source and our destiny teach us to make peace with our enemies. Our guide and our truth teach us to how we can best embrace our heritages. And we go to the middle of the page and sing together first in Hebrew, then in English. Avinu Malkeinu, Chonenu Va'aneinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chonenu Va'aneinu, Ki ein banu masim. Aseh imanu tzedakah v'chesed. Aseh imanu tzedakah v'chesed v'hoshieinu. O Mother and Father, O Mother and Father of life, please hear us and give us your grace. Our guide deep within us, oh, hear us and give us compassion and mercy and peace. Oh, guide us through your grace, justice and mercy to all. Oh, guide us and teach us, grant justice and mercy. We shall be free once again.
At the top of page 30, again, I will read to you and then I ask you to read the second paragraph. Our Father, our King, teach us how we can be better citizens. Our Mother, our Queen, help us atone for our wrongdoings. Our source and our destiny, let us return to you wholly and completely. Our guide and our truth, teach us how to help those who are ill.
Our Father, our King, teach us how to work for freedom for all. Our Mother, our Queen, help us to find our place in your universe. our source and our destiny. Help us to learn how to be more loving, our guide and our truth. Help us to create a year of abundance and blessing. Aseh imanu tzedakah v'chesed. Aseh imanu tzedakah v'chesed ve'hoshi'enu. Mother and Father, oh Mother and Father of life, lead us and give us your grace. Oh, my deep within us, oh, hear us and give us compassion and mercy and peace. Oh, guide us through your grace, justice and mercy to all. Oh, guide us and teach us, grant justice and mercy. We shall be free once again. Avinu Malkeinu, Chonenu v'Aneinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chonenu v'Aneinu, Ki ein banu ma'asim.
On page 30, please read with me. Avinu Malkeinu, open our hearts that we will see all the things we have been unwilling to see and grow in humility and compassion. Avinu Malkeinu, remove cynicism from our hearts that we may experience and move through despair and hopelessness to be the ones you are calling us to be. Avinu Malkeinu, inspire us to contribute to ending structural and personal racism. Avinu Malkeinu, inspire us to contribute to ending personal sexism. Avinu Malkeinu, inspire us to contribute to ending structural and personal heterosexism. Avinu Malkeinu, inspire us to contribute to ending structural and personal anti-Semitism. Avinu Malkeinu, inspire us to be compassionate to those with whom we disagree. May we see their humanity, even when they fail to see ours. Avinu Malkeinu, move us to our own humanity so that we may live what you have taught us. We are all your creations. Avinu Malkeinu, let us not rest comfortably in the words of these prayers, waiting for you to first act on us. We must act on ourselves.
In a moment, we'll read Aleinu. And Aleinu literally means it is on us. And in the prayer, we express obligations that we believe we should take on. Like the language of much of our liturgy, Aleinu reminds us that our responsibilities are communal rather than solitary. Aleinu provides the opportunity to consider what it might be like to widen our share of responsibility with mutual appreciation, embracing the comforting and complicated awareness that we are in this together. Please join me for Aleinu, it is up to us. Page 34. It is up to us to hallow creation, to respond to life with the fullness of our lives. It is up to us to meet the world, to embrace the whole, even as we wrestle with its parts. It is up to us to repair the world and to bind our lives to truth. Therefore, we bend the knee and shake off the stiffness that keeps us from the subtle graces of life and the supple gestures of love. With reverence and thanksgiving, we accept our destiny and set for ourselves the task of redemption.
Va'anachnu koreim u'mishtachavim u'modim לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ככתוב בתורתך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. היום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. I want to share with you one way that we are working on tshuva, on turning, on responding differently, on returning to our highest values, becoming more the people we mean to be. And that is, over at the other end, our little camp here, there's the fence that runs along the sidewalk. And on this side of it, there is a big piece of paper called Torah of Life, or in Hebrew, Torat Chaim. And the idea there is Torah, Jewish teaching, has to connect to our lives to be meaningful. So I have a little piece of paper we put out there, that asks you to think about your regrets from the past year. Note them anonymously, no one will know it's you, and stick them up on our Torah of Life. And you can do that tonight, tomorrow. You can write them over the next 10 days and bring in a pile, however you'd like. And it is so helpful to see what other people are regretting and that we're not alone, or that maybe we have done something really different. And either way, to learn, we're all in this together, as Steph said. So I encourage you to do that. I want to let you know that services tomorrow are family services at 9 o'clock. And after that, there'll be activities for children starting at 10:15, art projects, books, things like that. And at 10:30, the adult services start tomorrow. And then after those, we're going to do tashlich, which is a ritual where you toss away breadcrumbs, or the place we're going to go, no breadcrumbs are supposed to go in there, so we'll use pebbles. Doesn't matter what you use, you does to toss away your regrets, to have some physical movement to help us with that. So 1:15 will be at Live Oak Park, a few blocks that way tomorrow. For tashlich and for a picnic, bring your own. It's a very nice, relaxing area to hang out and eat in. And in a few moments, we are going to be heading back that way for wine and juice and challah, apples and honey for a sweet new year. And I want to, before we do that, introduce up a couple people to give some announcements and some appreciations. Then we're going to move to the Kaddish, the prayer for remembering those we have lost, and then sing one another Happy New Year, and then join together for our special foods for a sweet new year. So I'm going to ask Gina to come up. Do we have Gina here? No, Katie says we do not. I can't hear you. Sandy. I'm so sorry, Sandy. It's not my fault. Let's not worry about whose fault any of it is. Here's Sandy, and that looks like, to me, a good plan.
Finally, I can take off a mask. This is good, yes. I wanted to start by saying Shana Tova. I'm glad everybody's here. It really is nice to have people here and for us to be able to be together again. As Rabbi Bridget said, it's been 3 years, and I personally have missed it very much. So Shana Tova to those who are here, and Shana Tova to those who are watching on the video, because this is really critical for us, the people who were concerned with COVID but still wanted to be a part of it, and we were able to set up something so that could happen. I also want to thank Rabbi Bridget and Joel and Rabbi Stephanie for once again leading us in a great service, and I really listened to your sermon and it really echoed with me, so thank you. I want to thank Lori Kirkpatrick and all the volunteers who have helped out tonight to make this so that people could come and enjoy it and make it as easy as possible for that to happen. You know, one of the things I thought about when I first came to Jewish Gateways was, how did Jewish Gateways get started? I didn't know about it, and I was wondering what happened. And as time passed, I had a chance to talk to Rabbi Bridget, to read some of the things she wrote. And as she was meeting with parents, many parents were saying, I'm a bad Jew. It could be because they didn't feel knowledgeable enough. They didn't know what to do for the holidays or how to do it. Some felt that the Jewish life wasn't as meaningful for them as it could be. And they had this feeling of moving away from Judaism. And Rabbi Bridget wanted to change that. And she looked around for resources that she could find to bring to bear for people like this. And there were none or very few resources. And so Rabbi Bridget decided that she would commit herself to setting up an organization that could help people both connect and reconnect to Judaism. I'm a reconnect. I was bar mitzvahed when I was 13, and then I moved away from Judaism for a whole variety of reasons. But during this time that I'd moved away, periodically I would say, I need to come back. I need to try something. And so I would go to various synagogues and see if it fit for myself and my family. And they really didn't. As I struggled to find it, I couldn't find it. And to be honest, I had given up hope that I was going to find something that would be meaningful for me. And it was really through luck that my wife started to attend a Musar class and found that was very helpful to her, and said, you know, you need to go to High Holy Day services. We're going to go. Let's go this year. And so, of course, being a good husband, I said, yes, of course, that's what we're going to do. And when I got here, my wife went to say hello to some people she knew from Musar, and I was standing, and it was under this tent. And I was just standing by myself and looking around, and a member came up to me and said, who are you? My name's Jim. Let me introduce myself. Let me talk to you a little bit. And I felt right away a welcoming from the whole synagogue, even though it was one person that had just reached out. And as I started to get more involved with Jewish Gateways and started to do a variety of activities, what I found was every time I went to a community Shabbat or volunteered for something, the people I met, I really liked. It wasn't just that I liked them, I felt their values were very similar to my own. And it was something that as I was struggling to find a synagogue, I realized by being with these people, it was like being home. And it really touched me and really made me happy that I had become a part of Jewish Gateways. And then we hit COVID. We hit the pandemic. And everybody was isolated at home. And all of us were scared. Nobody knew at that time, how the virus spread. We were, leaving our mail out for days, washing our groceries, doing all those types of things. And we in Jewish Gateway started to think about, through the community involvement team, what could we do to increase the connection of people? And so a variety of different groups got started. One was called Coffee and Conversation, and it's every Tuesday at 9 a.m. We're still meeting on Zoom, and the whole purpose was just to share what had happened in the previous week and to be able to talk about it with people. You know, when people say, what do you do in Coffee and Conversation? I think it's almost like the Seinfeld show. You know, when they were talking, what's the show about? He says, people, they come to New York. What happens? Right? What's funny about that? Well, we all know, but when you describe it, it's not real. And so part of what I'm saying is, if you get a chance and you can, come to some of the groups. I think there was a handout of 3 pages tonight that was given just to go through what the various groups are. I know another group that got started was the Salon. And 2 months ago, we heard from Sherry Brodner about how to make bagels. I have to tell you, I had no interest in bagels. I had no interest in making bagels. But listening to her passion about this got me really to care about them. And actually, afterwards, we ordered some bagels from her and they were really good too. And then a month ago, Robin Bloom organized a reading of the play Our Town. I think I am the only person in America who had never seen a performance or read the play. It is the most produced play in America. But I had never done it. And yet through the Salon, a group of us put on the play. We read from it. It was really interesting. And I learned a lot, both about the play and a little bit about myself. And it was so much fun to do with other people. And so, in a way, what I'm really trying to say here tonight is I'd like to leave you with 2 requests. One, look at things that you can do and pick one and try it. It may be one of the courses Rabbi Bridget will be teaching in October. She's teaching 2. Here we are with 4. Time really flies, yes, okay. But my expectation is they're going to be great, and it'll be wonderful for you to do it. And also, there'll be a community Shabbat. And if you've never been to a community Shabbat, there'll be one somewhere in the middle to the end of October. And this gives you the chance to meet people, to talk, to really understand about Jewish gateways. And my second request is to ask you, because this synagogue is so critical to people who are trying to find a gateway to connect or reconnect to Judaism, please donate whatever you can. It is really important. And this year, trying to do both Zoom as well as in person, our costs add up, and we really need your help. And with that, I will say once again, Shana Tova.
One other quick comment, thank you, Sandy, is we have family programs for anybody with children pre-K through 5th. Our family learning program where parents and children learn together is enrolling, and it's in your handout about activities. And actually, I'm going to call Sandy back up with Jess. And April, where are you? April is our event coordinator. This was the most complicated high holidays we have ever put on because of all kinds of post-COVID or COVID happening problems that you cannot even imagine, including supply chain problems and lack of heaters, and because they're used everywhere now outdoors, and all kinds of crazy things. So April, I don't even have words. You made this work. It's unbelievable what you've done. And I'll hand this to Jess or Sandy in case they want to add anything. I am so, so grateful.
Amen.
Oh, okay. Well, Yes, we were a little out of practice doing this in person after a few years, and lost some of our institutional knowledge. And you really just filled such a need for our community and our organization. I so missed being in person and being together, and so you just continue to go above and beyond. So this is a small token of our gratitude. Thank you so much for making it possible for us to be here.
I was just going to say about the snacks. They're all pre-wrapped this year.
Practicality.
Yes, they're pre-wrapped. So the first table is individual, and the second table is family bags. So just make sure you take the right one. That's all.
Keep that mic close to you.
All right, that's it. So much.
See the kinds of things April thinks of? Yay, April. We're moving now to the Kaddish, the memorial prayer, and you can find it on page 36, I believe. These are also new prayer books. Our prayer books got lost in a flood in the basement right over there during the pandemic. So we have different pages. It has just been a wild ride. I'm so glad I'm here. So the Mourner's Kaddish is on pages 35 and 36. And after the Kaddish, we will hear our shofar blast and then sing one another Happy New Year and then head back for the food and drink that April has so carefully packaged. So what I'd like to do now is to walk around and invite anybody who is remembering somebody this evening who would like to rise and share the name.
It may work, it may not. We want to try it.
We'll be okay.
We're going to, yeah, no, here, yeah, no.
We don't need a mic.
Okay.
I invite anyone whose custom it is now to rise for the Kaddish. Some people rise for the Kaddish whether they're remembering a particular person or not. Some people rise only when they're remembering a particular person. So do whichever you choose. And we are on pages 35 and 36. The bold in either the Hebrew or the transliteration is the part to read as a response. If you're not remembering someone in particular this evening, the Kaddish gives us a chance to show our support for those who are mourning someone by joining together in those responses. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Ba'ama divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chaye dechol bet Yisrael. Ba'agala uv'yizman kari v'imru Amen.
Amen. Yehei
Ishmei Rabba mevrach le'olam ulamei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yitale v'yitalal shmei dekudasha brichu. Le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran bi'alma v'imru Amen.
Amen.
Yehei shlama rabba min shamaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen.
Amen.
Ose shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru Amen.
Amen.
I'm going to ask everybody now who is comfortable doing so to rise, and I'm going to invite up our shofar blower, Suzanne, and the shofar is a wake-up call. So whatever you need to wake up to or from, here is the time to listen.
And that condenser is pretty hot. Suzanne has been with us on Zoom 2 years, I think, right?
And now she gets to be in
And
person.
Now in person.
You can be seated. Yeshakach, this weird sounding kind of word we're tossing around, means good job. And we are saying it in a kind of a super fast
Yiddishy
way. And
Yeshivish way. From the, so they say in the yeshiva. Shkoyach.
so, but to not be quite so, rushed and mysterious about it.
Yasher.
Yasher,
Koach.
koach. Yasher means straight ahead. Koach means strength. So straight strength, which means good job. It is time to wish one another Hashanah Tova one more time on page 36. This time we will do it in Hebrew and English. And then I'm going to ask everybody to stay here because Joel and Rabbi Steph and I are going to go back that way. Because if you don't stay here, you'll stand up and talk and we will never get back there. And then we won't get to lead the blessings. So just stay here for a moment. We'll head on back and then come on back and let's enjoy our ritual foods and more time to chat if you had an interesting conversation with someone when we began our service. Thank you so much for sharing this evening with us. And I will see many of you tomorrow or at Yom Kippur.
L'shana tova, same tune as at the beginning. L'shana tova, tikatevu. L'shana tova, tikatevu. Tikatevu, v'techatemu. Yarai, lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, lai, ya-da-da-da-da. Sweet New Year. All right. Shana Shana Tova. We'll see you in back.